Hi there, folks. Welcome to Spectrum Pulse. We talk about music, movies, art, and culture. And today we're going back to country music for the new album from Jake Owen titled Days of Gold. Now, a few months back, I reviewed a mostly ignored album from Joe Nichols. And in that particular review, I mentioned that a certain male country star had come out against some of the rising trends in bro country, stating that we need more songs than just songs about tailgates and cups and Bacardi and stuff like that. And yet, some traditional country music press had to restrain some scoffs of disbelief when they heard that comment, mostly because it was coming from Jake Owen. Okay, now for a little bit of background. Jake Owen is a country singer that had his major breakthrough in 2011 with Barefoot Blue Jeans Night, a song that I only ever thought was okay, mostly buoyed up by the strengths of the performer himself. As much as Jake Owen doesn't always seem to be the brightest apple in the bunch, at least to judge by his songs, he has the energy and affability of a born showman, a guy with a ton of natural charisma and real likability, which is a perfect fit for his blend of upbeat, beach-ready country music. But it's hard to kind of deny that songs like Barefoot Blue Jeans Night were the prototypes for the rise of bro country that we have currently monopolizing the charts today. And thus, it was a little difficult for some people to take Owen remotely seriously in his comments about going back to traditional country music. But then I thought, wait, how the hell is that fair? We let the Zac Brown Band retain their traditionalist country credentials when they do songs with Jimmy Buffett, and there isn't anything inherently wrong with making dumb, fun party songs. They can be just as good as even the high-intelligence smart one. The bigger problem has always been the gradual stripping away of individuality between songwriters across Music Row and Nashville. And if we're looking to call out Jake Owen for any sort of hypocrisy, well, it might be in this element here because he doesn't have a single writing credit on his newest album, Days of Gold. But then again, on the other hand, there has been bro country music that I've liked. And one of my biggest issues with the genre has been how unnecessarily serious and over-the-top macho so many of the artists have played it. So, you know what? Maybe Owen's goofball charm and natural charisma could play to his advantage. So, with all that in mind, how did Days of Gold turn out? Well, you know what? Better than I expected. Let's make this clear. Days of Gold is a bit of an odd animal, and there's a number of disparate elements that should kill this album in the crib. But you know what? Somehow, it all came together, and it turned out pretty damn good. Is it anything close to great? Well, no. Is it anything close to smart? Well, no, not particularly. But as I've mentioned a number of times before, it's a matter of managing scope as an artist, and Jake Owen's Days of Gold makes a fair amount of just being a riotous mess of country of all stripes jammed together, and it ends up being a lot more fun than one might expect. Not particularly all that bright, but it's good, dumb fun, and I can't exactly praise it enough for that. So, okay, let's get the biggest issue out of the way with this album. This might be the most compressed and overproduced country album I've ever heard. Every sound in the mix is hurled straight to the front at full volume, which can lead to quite the overwhelming listening experience as rock guitars, traditional country instrumentation like banjos and fiddles, electronic elements, and everything in between war in the mix for absolute dominance. Now, the really bizarre thing about it is that a fair amount of instrumental texture actually manages to make it across. The electric guitars have swell and real presence, the drums have a ton of pounding energy because all the songs move at a fairly steady clip, and the vocals even have a fair amount of grit to them. What's even stranger is that in this cacophony of sound, they still manage to form somehow coherent and somewhat memorable melodies. And while they aren't all that complex or revolutionary, they end up sticking pretty close to the power chord formula. They still end up being way catchier than you might expect. Now, of course, the major downside to all this sound at the front of the mix, however, is that some of the instrumental solos do lose a little bit of personality, including an incredibly messy guitar solo on the Nostalgia Trip 1972. I otherwise liked that song, but man, that guitar solo did nothing for me. And you know what? It's a bit of a shame, too, that Jake Owen himself doesn't quite deliver as strongly as he could. Oh, look, he certainly tries with what he's been given, and you can tell that whenever he's given a chance to sing, he's definitely game for it. But look, too many of the songs, particularly in the good time partying vein, they stick with this country rap formula, and it really doesn't give Jake Owen the best opportunities to show off his full emotional range. You know what? Sure, his flow might be decent, and you know what? I will admit, it's kind of miraculous that he doesn't lose a lot of his natural charisma with the switch over to country rap, but you know what? but he's better when he has the chance to actually sing. And despite his limited vocal range, he's got a ton of passion and charisma to back him up. And look, he might come across as simple or corny, but when he's so goddamn earnest and backed with legitimate feeling and smiles, it can work in this formula. I like hearing from this guy, and as much as I would like to call him up for just being kind of silly or a little bit corny, I can't do it because he's just that goddamn cheery about it. Now, part of this is also a big credit to the lyrics, which are really surprisingly good on an album released in December overloaded with summer songs. Now, it definitely helps matters that Jake Owen doesn't engage in any of that macho posturing nonsense or any pretensions to being an outlaw that normally poisons bro country. And while rougher textures into his instrumentation are normally easy steps down that road, Jake Owen doesn't go there, opting for a fair number of just straightforward songs about girls drinking and partying, usually on the beach, trying not to have a care and just have a good time. And while you do get your duds here, Tall Glass of Something stands out as a real low point in the album, just didn't work for me at all. Jake Owen has enough rambunctious energy, and the lyrics are often well constructed and unique enough to distinguish them from run-of-the-mill bro country. There's a fair amount of good technical songwriting in this album, which I wasn't expecting. And fortunately for us, the album also often rises above that ceiling of just basic bro country and actually delivers some songs in this vein with a surprising amount of nuance. Take, for instance, Ghost Town, which takes the idea behind Luke Bryan's I See You and then plays it a little bit more creatively with him seeing ghosts of his girlfriend everywhere. And then you have Life of the Party, which is a shockingly strong song where Jake Owen struggles to enjoy himself and put on a happy face at a party where it only reminds him of his girl. And he plays it so well in that song, and it's easily the best thing that songwriter Dallas Davidson has ever written. And while it's not quite as strong as Scotty McCreery's Garth Brooks homage feel-good country song playing in the same vein, it's still an incredibly good track and the big album highlight for me. I really enjoyed it, and I honestly didn't think Jake Owen would push in that direction. And when he does, his emotional range really helps him work like gangbusters. Now, look, it might sound like I'm overselling some pretty basic things on this album here. Like, none of the nuance that I'm presenting is all that complex. But you know what? That's one of the primary strengths of Days of Gold by Jake Owen. It's simplicity. It's aiming for broad strokes and big emotions, and while I don't quite think it nails all the little moments that it has to make those bigger moments, well, permissible, it gets the big elements so right, it's kind of hard to dislike the guy. Sure, Jake Owen might be opting for basic songs about love and partying, and subtlety might be a foreign word on this record, and I would be lying to say that Days of Gold is anything close to all that smart or insightful. But you know what? I can't deny it when the basics work as well as they do on this record. And it's an album that works because it knows its scope and it plays in that range. It wants to be an album full of stupid, fun party songs, and it hits that note perfectly. Frankly, the only thing that holds this record back from being something truly special is some of the production doesn't quite work nearly as well as I like to think the album thinks it does, and perhaps a little bit more heft and nuance in the songwriting, just a little bit more flavor. So with that, yeah, you know what? I'm going to give this a 7 out of 10, and I'm going to recommend this album. Days of Gold by Jake Owen might not be one of the smartest albums you'll hear this year, but god damn it, it's a lot of fun, and it doesn't take itself all that seriously. And you know what? Sometimes that's all you need. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching. If you'd like to like and subscribe, I'd be more than grateful. If there's anything I might be able to do to improve my presentation, or if there's any other albums you'd like me to take a listen to before the end of the year, I'd be more than happy to take a listen. Until then, see you next time.